All right, I guess we can go ahead and get started. I don't know everyone that I see on that's connected, so I'll just introduce myself. I'm Doug Corwin. I'm the head of school at TrinityPrep, and we're very excited. We do these community talks once a month, and excited to have Dr. Megan Connell from Southeast Psych here to share with us ways to connect and build relationships with your teens. She's awesome. She's done it in the past, our community talks, and it's always great. I don't want to take any more of your time, so take it away. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you all for coming tonight. I'm really, really excited to talk with you all. Before I get started with my talk, though, I just want to take a moment for all of you parents there and just to say, like, you all are doing amazing. Like, these last 2 years have been so incredibly hard. None of us were prepared for what happened and what's happening and how to react to it all. And the fact that you all are taking time out of your day just to be here and to hear this tells me that you really care and you are trying to make a difference in your kids' lives. And so that is awesome. There is no perfect way to handle any of this because none of us know what is going to happen next. And so just take a quick moment to breathe and recognize like you're doing wonderful and just to keep it up. And so with that, let's talk a little bit about what we're going to be doing tonight. So we're going to be talking about how to make memories and connect with your teenager. Specifically, I'm kind of focusing on how do we make some good memories before the kids go off to college. So we're going to look a little bit at the science behind how are memories made, what makes a memory, the things that we remember the most. And then since I would hope that everybody's wanting to make happy memories with their kids, what are things that give us happiness? How do we have done, psychology has done a ton of research around happiness and what makes people happy. And so we actually have some guidelines on that and some things that we can recommend to do, activities and things you can do with your teen to help build that happiness. We're going to talk through some different activities that you can do. Spoiler, one of them is board gaming. I'm a humongous board game enthusiast. And so I like to talk about different board games that can be used to kind of help bring your family together. And I talk about games that you might not have heard of that can be a lot of fun. Then I will leave about 10 to 15-ish minutes or so at the very end to answer any questions that any of you have or just to elaborate on anything. As always, like if you have a question as we're going along, please feel free to put it in the chat and I'll either get to it at the very end or I'll try to address it as we go. I do have the chat window pulled up. All right. So how do we make memories? What are the things that stand out to us? Most of us as adults understand that our days just kind of blend into one another. It's kind of this monotony of day in and day out. Nothing really stands out. So we tend to recall times where we have heightened emotions or something really different and strange happened. So like when we're incredibly angry, those emotions stand out to us. When we're incredibly scared, when we're feeling joyful or excited, feeling loved or feeling tons of anxiety. Those heightened emotions really help our brain kind of wake up and pay attention to the world around us. And when we have that heightened arousal, it is much more likely that you're going to encode and create a deep memory. This is why things like riding roller coasters are very memorable. Times where we were incredibly surprised by something either wonderful or terrible stand out in our memory. And again, anything that's different, so like your commute to work, you're not going to remember that. Like I did my graduate training in Hawaii and I drove the H1 highway every day. I don't remember most of my rides. The day I passed a horse on the freeway, though, I remember that very, very well because it was something very different and unexpected and kind of delightful too. I saw a horse on the highway. Okay, that's a thing. Also, when you have traditions, they can help kind of anchor your memory. So, we're heading into the holiday season. My family loves to give holiday pajamas as a gift. And so like every year we get new pajamas. And like, if we're trying to recall something that happened in a specific year, a really good way to kind of key in and pull up that memory is to remember like, wait, we get jammies every year. What were the jammies we got that year? Or if Maybe at Thanksgiving, you do a movie marathon, and it's a different type of movie marathon every year. It's like, oh yeah, that was the year we did all the Tom Cruise movies, or that was the year we did all the Pixar movies. And those little things can kind of anchor us and give us that way to access. And it's like, oh yeah, I remember that. And so couldn't watch Up because it was making them too sad, so they had to go in the other room. And those types of things really help us to make memories. And so it's some stuff to be thinking about. And so, with all that, what are the things that are most remembered, right? What are the gifts we recall the most, right? Take a moment for yourself. Think back to your last birthday or the last large holiday. What are the gifts that you remember getting? Or even in your whole lifespan, what are the gifts that you remember the most? What's interesting is when we do this, a lot of times the gifts that are remembered the most are the ones that have a deep sentimentality attached to them. So it could be like uh, a gift, a homemade gift by your kid, or like your friend giving you a particularly ugly sweater that was part of an inside joke that the two of you had, or something that you've been, secretly kind of wanting for a very long time, but thought was silly. And so you wouldn't get it. And then somebody surprised you with that thing, right? Those gifts that have that sentimentality tied to them are something that helps us really get that encoded memory, because it's typically surprise, joy, and love, three strong emotions that help encode those memories. What are the events that stand out the most for us? I think a lot of times we try to make these perfect memories, right? Like, I know I'm guilty of this, going on vacation and being like, okay, we're going to go on this hike and it's going to be perfect. We're going to get to the summit and everyone's going to look great. And we're going to take pictures and it's going to be just this perfect family event. It never goes right, right? It doesn't go according to plan. And a lot of times when things go wrong, that's more memorable, right? Because again, if we're thinking through what makes memories, heightened emotions, right? If everything's going according to plan and there's nothing kind of chaotic happening, we just kind of trudge along and our brain's like, cool, just another day. We don't need to encode this one really deeply. And so things going wrong can be one of the most powerful memories that we have. I think back to the summer after I graduated high school. I got to spend a lot of time with one of my friends, and we went to go see a movie every weekend. And every weekend it was an adventure. The first weekend we got lost. I'm of an age where I lived in the before times, before cell phones and GPS. We were like truly lost in the backwoods of New Hampshire somewhere. We ran out of gas the second week. The third week we had a flat tire. And then the fourth week, somebody was trailing us, tailgating us. And we thought we were going to get run off the road. And I don't really remember the movies. I know there were a couple weeks that we went that nothing happened, but I don't remember those. I remember these times where things went really, really wrong. And so again, those perfect experiences can often be forgotten. It is those moments where we have, like in the picture here, flour getting everywhere and we're just making a mess and we're not making cookies, actually, that help us make memories. And so when understanding a little bit about how to make memories, let's think about how to build happiness. I'm going to start with some things that don't make us happy, though. Things don't make us happy. Having new clothes, new toys, new technology, that does not make us happy. We can get excited and delighted for a little while and be very pleased. But if we want to make ourselves happy, if we want to do things that are going to make us happy, we know from research, one of the best things we can do is help other people. Or doing something where we can see the impact of our work helps us feel satisfaction, helps us feel happy. And if you can do those two things together, so doing something where you can see the impact of your work and it's making somebody happy, that's something that can be really lasting. So this could be as simple as raking the leaves for your neighbor, right? It's just fairly simple activity, and that can really help to, help them feel good and help us feel good, and we get to see the fruits of our labor. The other thing too is experiences tend to bring about more happiness than things. So generally, like when we're talking happiness research, we talk about if you have some money, then you could buy a new gadget with that money, or you could go on a small vacation with that new money. With that money, go on the small vacation. You're going to have more fond memories from the small vacation. You're going to experience more happiness. You're going to have more dopamine running through your brain as a result of going on the vacation than you will if you bought the gadget, if you bought the toy. And so it's really important just to, have that distinction to go, okay, what are the things that are going to bring me the most happiness and joy? What are the experiences that I can bring to that table? So maybe it's like, going and working in like a local soup kitchen or food pantry, going and donating our time to clean up the parks. There's lots of things that we can do that actually will help bring us happiness and again, increase memories as well. And so we've talked a little bit about memories and how we build memories and a little bit about happiness. Now let's bring the two together and talk about building happy memories. So ways to connect with our teen, ways to build these memories with them that are going to be lasting. And so I'm going to take this, we're going to be a few moments on this slide here because I want to walk you through a few things. So I'm going to ask you to think back to your own childhood with your family, or if your family situation was not very good, with people who you were incredibly close to. And think about like when you were like elementary school age. What are some of your best, fondest moments that you can remember? It doesn't have to be something of like getting a gift or anything like that. Just like, what are the things that stand out for you? Notice, you don't have to limit yourself to one. We're not going for the bestest here, just in general. What are those moments that you can hold on to? Now let's go up to teenage years. As an adolescent, what are some of your most fond memories with your family? And how about as you left the nest and went to college and started becoming an adult? What are the things you remember the most? And I feel comfortable sharing, so I will share. For me, when I was a child, I'm originally from Maine, so I'm from a much colder place in the winter, and it was not supposed to snow for Christmas. So I was incredibly disappointed as a kid. And I'm sitting Christmas Eve watching TV with my family, and I look out and it is snowing. And we turn on the back porch light, and there's already like a foot of snow outside. And so my mom and I run outside and have a snowball fight. I think that is probably one of the most fond memories I have as a child. Um, as a teenager, we discovered that was when Harry Potter was first getting popular. And my mom and I were listening to the audiobook, and we found we were like had this rule in our head that we could only listen to it while driving. And so she and I just got in the car and started like we drove all over the stage so we could listen to that audiobook, and just finding these times to find all these weird, winding back roads to listen to this book. Then in college, like getting to share my first apartment and show that to my parents and showing my decorative style, always is just cheap chic, I think, as a college student, but that was so fun. And like, I'm not going to ask any of you to share that stuff, but kind of thinking through those things. Is there a way that you can take some of those experiences that you hold on to fondly and use them to help you find ways to connect with your own kids? To think what are some of those things, and not, it's not going to be an exact one-to-one, replacement here, but maybe it's a, like, gosh, my uncle took me fishing and that was such a fun trip. So maybe I'll take my kid fishing, or maybe like What was it about that trip that was fun? It was getting to learn a new skill and having some really special one-on-one time with somebody. Well, we can replicate that. It doesn't have to be fishing. It can be playing tennis. It can be going on a hike. It can be heck, even playing a video game that you really love. There's lots of different things that we can do to connect. And so let's start thinking through the activities and the things that we can do personally to connect with our kids. And this is going to be a big ask of you parents, because the first thing I'm going to ask is, can you be silly? Are you willing to be a little bit like this guy in this stock photo here? I do not think he's the father of that child, but maybe, and be a little silly, dance on the bed, sit with your kids and learn the latest TikTok dance and record that with them. Are you willing to be a little silly? And that's not a small ask. Again, not surprising. I like gaming. And so I study a lot about gaming and what it takes to game. And one of the big barriers that we run into a lot is adults feel like they're not supposed to be able to play games. We feel like we need a reason to, or permission, if you will, to be able to play. That we need an alibi, something that tells us it's okay to play. It's okay to be silly. It's like, it's hard being a psychologist who's board certified and like top of my field of gaming. It's like, oh, you're not a real professional then because you like to game. It's like, no, I'm still a real professional. I really study this and I write books about it and do all the kinds of things. Like, it's real. But because we have this idea that grownups don't play, grownups aren't silly, it's dismissed a lot. And so for yourself, that critic you carry up here, are you able to have them step aside so that you can connect with your kid? And you can have a moment. You can do the TikTok dance, or you can, help them with their latest makeup craze or whatever. Are you willing to open up to talk about things that might be hard, or to share experiences, to maybe be seen as something other than, the competent expert in a field? Are you really willing to be open to having a new experience? Are you willing to share memories? Grabbing your yearbook and going through your yearbook and sharing your old photos with your kids. I recently redid my office. And so like I was cleaning it out. Oops, and I have old photo albums. And like, that's a novelty. Nobody has photo albums anymore. So getting to go through those old photo albums with my kids and, show what my life was like as a teenager. Like, that's kind of fun. That's a good way to connect. Again, are you willing to try something you're not good at? To be seen as not competent in something, to be seen as growing, and not to get all upset and dismissive of it and be like, this is dumb because I can't do it and I feel embarrassed, but to be like, oh man, I'm going to have to work really hard if I want to get this dance, or if I want to learn this move, or if I want to be able to do this thing. To show tenacity, to show that stick-to-itiveness that we tell our teens they need to do. Can we demonstrate that in something we're not good at, something that we're willing to grow in? And then a really hard one. Are you willing to let your kids teach you something? Are you willing to sit down and have them teach you how to play Fortnite? Are you willing to have them teach you how to play Minecraft? Or Roadblocks, or whatever game it is that they're playing? Are you willing to sit down and connect with them on something that they love? Like, if they, I know TikTok is the really big thing nowadays. What are their favorite TikTokers? What are the things that they love on TikTok? Can they, if they are good at doing all these TikTok dances and things, like, show me how you make these videos. Like, what does it take? And be genuinely curious about that stuff and wanting to know. And the more we can be curious and open to this stuff, the easier it gets to kind of take it in and learn about it. So again, this is just a big old list of things that we could try, right? We could do sports. We can go play football together, play soccer together, learn a weird sport. I don't know, learn curling, playing video games, again, playing board games. I'm a big fan of that. Video games can be an awesome way to connect and build memories with your kids. If your kids love gaming, meet them where they are. You know, sit with what they love and try it out. Doing that creative activity, making something together, making a scrapbook, printing out all those photos you have on your phone and actually like having a physical copy and doing something with those photos. Doing crafts, doing pottery together. Like I have a bunch of ornaments that my kids have made, in different pottery classes and things they've taken. And it's so lovely having those. Also to, again, lean into like that silliness and stuff. Are you willing to go out and do karaoke with your family? Right? Go out into an event of some kind that maybe you're not used to. Like go to a sporting event, go to professional curling. I don't know. Or like, just things that are again outside of the norm, outside of the comfort zone, right? Like if we usually go to football games, well, let's try something else. Like, I don't know, let's go watch a polo match. Let's go, see a professional esport competition or something. Let's cook something together. Let's, again, to go back to the tradition thing, maybe there's a old family traditional recipe that you never bothered to learn. And so maybe it's like, we're going to sit down in the kitchen and we're going to try to figure out how to make grandma's cookies. And it's again, like, I love the idea of trying to find family traditions, but again, those family traditions only work if we lean into them. I was talking with somebody this week and they were telling me that what their family does is Hanksgiving, as in Tom Hanks giving. And on Thanksgiving Day, they all dress up as Tom Hanks characters. So like there's a Forrest Gump, there's a Woody, there's a person from Saving Private Ryan, the Sully, the pilot, there's the guy from Big. And then they, do activities together, all dressed up as these different Tom Hanks characters and watch Tom Hanks movies. Right. And like that only works because the whole family commits to the bit. It's not this kind of half like, I have a nameplate on that says, "Hi, I'm Tom." It's like when you actually can commit, those are ways to make memories and to connect with our teens. And so a few tips, like as you're trying to do this, as you're trying to connect with your teen, let them decide what to do. You say like, we're going to do something, here's some, don't like, I would say, don't give them the blank check, right? But give a few activities. Say like, okay, we could, I don't know, go learn how to drive race cars. We could go to the Whitewater Center and learn that, or we can try cooking this really complicated recipe. Which one do you want to do? Another really big thing too is let your kids teach you what they like. Let them be the instructors. Join with them in their world. I was going to do a slide on communication and it didn't seem to organically fit anywhere, but I want to bring those points into this slide here. When we're inviting, or asking to be invited into the world of our kids, we want to do that in a way that's non-judgmental, meaning we want to be open and hearing things without going, "God, that's stupid." Right? Like, watching people on Twitch is still really popular, and being really judgmental and dismissive of like, why do you watch people play video games? You could just play the video games yourself. Right? That's showing them that you're going to be really judgmental of their world and the things they love, and they're going to close that door. Because if you're going to poke fun at the things that are meaningful to them, they're not going to want to let you in. And so being curious, and asking like, okay, why do you like watching this guy play Minecraft? What is it about this person's stream that is so interesting? And just really listening and connecting and just keeping an open mind. asking these questions of help me understand or tell me more about this are wonderful ways to be invited into somebody's world and to learn more about it. You don't have to love what they do, but just be curious about it. If somebody's talking about a TikToker that they really like, okay, it's like, help me understand why that TikToker is so cool. Explain to me why that is something that is so fun and so cool to do. And like, how do the trends work? How does this happen? How does the algorithm work? And just being curious. And like, if the kid gets to a point of like, mom, dad, it's like, okay, it's just wanting to learn. It's important to you. And so I want to understand it. And again, as we're trying to find these activities that can help us join with our kids, try to find ones that can bridge our interests. Like if you love fixing stuff, maybe like you go to a garage sale and you find an old bicycle or an old something that you can fix up together and make a project out of it. Like, my kids, I like to craft and make things when I have time, which isn't very much anymore, but like I have my old dollhouse and they're like, let's fix this up. And so like, I just spent dollhouse stuff's expensive, everybody, way too much money, it seems, to get dollhouse, siding and flooring and stuff. So we can sit down and build something together. And again, like thinking back through all of the memory stuff, when I'm doing some spending quality time with them, we're doing something novel. We're not going to build the dollhouse multiple times. That's going to happen once. It's outside the norm. It's going to be, we're going to get to see the fruits of our labor, and we're going to all help each other to get to this shared goal of finishing this project. And so those are things where we're really tapping into what makes memories, what helps us feel happy. And so those are just small things that we can do. And it's bridging my interests and theirs in a really organic, fun way. And like, look, we're all busy. All of it, like people are busier now than I think we have ever been. It's an interesting thing. We all try to kind of, in psychology and everything, we're trying to understand, why are we so busy? By all rights, we should not be as busy as we are, but we really are. And so making that time to unplug from our devices ourselves, to stop, the things I'm guilty of, listening to my audiobook while my kids are trying to play with me, or, doing chores or doing other projects, like taking that time to really unplug and connect. It can be really, really hard. And so, okay, so, great question. So how do we handle kids who get really upset if they lose a board game or video game? Playing with multiple kids, sometimes someone is always upset. As a parent, do you let them win sometimes, or is it okay to beat them? That's a great question. And you just segued so perfectly into my talk on board games. Games are awesome. I love board games. I could have made this list so much longer. It's already probably too long and a bit overwhelming. With kids who get really, really upset, you want to teach being a good winner and being a good loser, right? But if you're in a situation where you're playing a game where there's only one winner, that it's a hard lesson to learn, right? This is why like learning to win and lose as part of a team can be really, really helpful. And so you'll notice I have some of these games here highlighted in green. These green games are cooperative board games. And so this is a field of board games where all the players are playing against the game itself. So the series that's behind me here, Forbidden Sky, is the latest one. There's Forbidden Island, Forbidden Desert are the first two installments of this game, and Forbidden Sky is the third installment. You each are a character, and you're moving around trying to collect little MacGuffins to put something together. In Forbidden Island, you're trying to collect relics before the island sinks around you. In Forbidden Desert, you have to find the pieces of your airship to fly away out of the desert before the sandstorm buries you. In Forbidden Skies, you have to literally build a circuit to get your rocket ship to go off. When you finish it, it's cool because the rocket makes a cool launching sound and stuff. And before you get blown off and fall to your death. If any one player gets eliminated, everybody loses. It's you all either win together or you all lose together. A game my husband and I played at the very start of the pandemic, which was kind of bad timing on our part, is Pandemic Legacy. So the pandemic game itself is also a cooperative game where you are playing as health organizers trying to stop a global pandemic from happening. Maybe a little too soon for a game like this, but the legacy version is really, really cool because legacy games change as you play them. And so in Pandemic Legacy, you play through a calendar year. So you play theoretically 12 games, but you have 2 shots at each month. So it could be up to 24 games. And as you play, you put stickers onto the board to permanently change the board. And like you hit certain points in the story where it's like, okay, take these 3 cards out and rip them up. Or like this city is no longer exists. You can't use it anymore because it just got overrun with whatever. And so it's a really cool game. It's really a lot of strategy. And again, because you're all working together, if we all lose together, we can commiserate together and talk with one another and be like, oh, man, that was so close. That was, what are the things that we can do? If you are like me and a Harry Potter fan, Harry Potter Battle for Hogwarts is that game is better than it has any right to be. And there's 2 expansions for it as well that make it harder and more fun. This game is a lot of bang for your buck. It's like, I think it's around $60, but I think sometimes you can get it for $45 on Amazon. But it's actually 7 games because you play through each year at Hogwarts. And so like any given game will take about 45 minutes to play, if not more. And so it gets more complicated and harder as you go along. And it leans into all the Harry Potter stuff that you love. And then Ravensburger has this awesome Wonder Woman, sorry, I have it behind me. The Age of the Amazons, where you're on Themyscira and you're defending Themyscira from different traditional Wonder Woman villains. It has this really, really cool mechanic that I think is an awesome way to build trust and relationships with your kids because you get to see what's going. So like everybody's dealt a hand of cards and you get to, I think you're dealt 5 cards. 2 of them are face up. So you have a sort of an idea of what's in your hand. And every player has a different ability. And so you war plan about who's going to go where and who's going to do what. But you don't know what your full hand is. And once you make the plan, you have to stop talking. And then you draw the rest of your cards, and then that might change what you end up doing. And so it's a thing of like, are you going to follow through with what you said, or are you going to change things up? And how do we deal with that? And like, again, for that conflict resolution of like kids who get upset when they lose or something doesn't go according to plan, we can pause the game and talk about that, and help people talk through their decision making. It's like, okay, you said you were going to go to the temple and do this, but then you went to the woods and did something else instead. Maybe the person's like, these were my cards. I couldn't get to the temple. There was no physical way for me to get to the temple. It's like, oh, okay, right. So then we're starting to learn perspective taking through that. And so that's a really, really fun one. I really enjoy that one. One of the big things I like about all of the rest of these that are in white, so the Dungeon Mayhem's a little exception there. It ends at the same time for everybody. A game like Risk, Monopoly, there's a few other games, but players get eliminated as you go along. And that's no fun, right? So we start off, all 4 of us are playing together. Then so-and-so is bankrupt, so they're eliminated. Then this other person is bankrupt, so they're eliminated. And now it's only half the players that we started with. Well, that's not very fun for the family. So how do we keep people going together? And so these games are all ones that keep people playing together. Now, Dungeon Mayhem is an elimination game, but it goes really quickly and it can be a lot of fun to continue to watch. Because like a game of Dungeon Mayhem at most is going to last 30 minutes. And that's a really, really long game. It's simple enough that my 6-year-old plays it. She's good. Like she understands that she looks cute and people feel bad damaging her character. So she's always is like, don't hurt me. And she just decimates the board. And so before we know it, like we've all lost this 6-year-old who's very, very innocent and cute. Santa's Workshop is one that I just got recently. This is another one that it's recommended for ages 14 and up, but I play it with my elementary school kids. It's like a little worker placement game. It's it's easy strategy, and it's very fun Christmas themed. It's a great little game. Dominion is the one over here. This is a card game that has a lot of expansions and it has a lot of replayability. And again, there's a lot of strategy and it can just be kind of funny too to play it. Like essentially you're trying to gain provinces and like you gain buy power and stuff. So it's a deck builder, but it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of the like bigger gaming conventions actually have tournaments around this game, which is really cool. Fun game, but this for the person asking about kids who are getting upset might not be so fun is the Disney Villainous series. You take on the role of a classic Disney villain and you are trying to win. It's sort of fun because it can be a little bit cooperative because you get to know the win condition for each villain. And so everybody around the table can say like, oh, look, Prince John's getting close to winning. Quickly, we got to do everything we can to stop Prince John. And then like somebody else is kind of sneaking their way in. And so it's really kind of fun, but like it can be very frustrating when you're like, I was very close to winning and somebody blocked me in a way where I could not win for another 5 or 6 turns. And then someone else won on the next turn. And I was like, so like that, that's an opportunity to practice our self-soothing and everything like that. Super fight is another one that could cause some arguments, but in a playful way, where you are given a card. You're given a card and an attribute, and character and attribute. It's something else. It's been a little while since I've played that game, and you debate back and forth over. So it's like 100-foot tall Darth Vader made out of guacamole versus a 1-inch tall One Punch Man who's covered in sticky glue. Who's going to win? And you just debate, and everybody else who's watching the debate, like there's an end point, and they all converge and decide who won that super fight. And so it could be silly, it can be fun. It can cause like some yelling too, so people might get a little excited. But again, if we're trying to connect and make memories, that can be a way to make memories. Geek Out is another one that is super duper fun. This is a game where my family, we play this during dinner. We don't actually like play it as the game is intended. It's just you're given a category and you have to say how many things you can list in that category. So for example, in Disney Geek Out, it might be movies where one of the main characters is a horse. And I go, okay, I can name 2. And then it might go to the next person. It's like, I can name 3, I can name 4. And then it gets to the last person and they have to pony up. They have to list out all of the things. And if they can't, theoretically, they lose points. If they can, they get points. Super fun. It's a very good game. Unstable Unicorns is another deck builder that's just silly and really fun. My kids love Happy Little Dinosaurs. It's sort of a sad game. It's like the artwork is super cute, but it's about the dinosaurs going extinct. So it's got this kind of like cute but morbid feel to it, but it is really cute. It's a very easy game to understand. Teenagers like it too. Spot It's another game, really quick and easy. You're just trying to find matches and play together really quickly. And then again, that idea of trying to lean into playfulness and not being an expert, the game, we didn't play test this at all, is a great one because there's just lots of silliness that happens there and you can get a card that's like, you win. And that's all. And so it can really help people learn to have that flexible thinking and adaptive thinking. I also obviously have a lot more games and stuff behind me that I love, but like I said, I could make that list way longer, but it is a lot of fun. And like board games are a great way to connect with your family. One that's on the list I didn't talk about here too is this one called Charterstone. It's another legacy game where you add stickers and things to the board as you play. And it actually has a story. It's a more expensive game. It's about $60 or so, but my family, like it took us 4 months, I think, to play through the whole game. So it's really, there's a lot of, you get a lot of time out of that. And each game was about 45 to 90 minutes, depending on how complicated it was getting. So what are my morals? Play games. They're a wonderful way to make memories with your family and to enjoy things with your kids. I should also say, I don't get any like kickback or anything for highlighting any of these games. I am actually friends with some of the designers of these games just because of what I do. But they're just awesome games that I really love and I really, really enjoy. And I think you all would love too. So we've got about 15 or so minutes. I know we don't have too many people here, but I'll open it up for questions or anything like that you all have questions on like how to connect with your teen, other things to do, tips for putting the phone down sometimes.
Do you ever let your kids win?
Um, I don't have to. Like sometimes like I might in some situations, but like this game back here, Auto, is a super fun pattern game. I was
Mhm.
playing that with my 6-year-old last night. She decimated me. Like I did not need to hold back. I like held back for like one turn and she
Right.
like completely blocked any chance I had for points. And so like I was trying to play to win and I could not. So
My 9-year-old, he'll talk a bunch of junk, and then I can be like, usually it's like in a video game, and some of them I can beat him, and then he gets so upset, man. But like then I'll let him kind of get back in the game, but then I never know, should I just let him win once? And but then he talks so much junk at the beginning, it's like it's
yeah, well
hard
that's
to
where it's like
know.
yeah, it's like buddy, we got to learn some humility here.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you beat him, and then I mean he cries like it. Yeah, so he goes from one extreme to the other. I'm like,
Yeah, I would really suggest cooperative games.
okay,
Like there's some cooperative like the if you have a Nintendo Switch, the Warriors of Hyrule Warriors.
mm,
It super fun. Number one, where it's just 1 versus 100. You just get to go mow down lots of enemies.
mm,
But that's a co-op game. And so you work together.
okay,
And so like there's some missions where like if you get hit once, you fail.
right,
And they're really, really hard. And like we actually know from research that overcoming incredibly hard obstacles
mm,
increases happiness. Like there are, if anyone's familiar with the video game Dark Souls, it's known to just be a brutally hard video game. It's hard for people who consider themselves gamers.
mhm,
It actually helps decrease depression
hmm, cool,
um, be, because you gain senses of mastery. You
mhm,
master things, and fights that used to take you 2-3 hours to get through suddenly aren't an issue at all. You can do it in 10 minutes.
mhm,
And so like Hyrule Warriors could be a little bit of the same, where you have this, one mission that's really, really tough. And then like you start to figure it out and work on it together. And
mm,
so when, if he goes in like, Dad, we're going to kick so much butt, maybe be like, hey, no, maybe we're not.
right,
Like, let's not put the cart before the horse. Let's actually go play. Let's try and see what we do and see how
right,
it goes.
right.
And I think like something too, where just on the note of like putting phones down, because I imagine like for the folks who maybe are watching this afterwards and stuff, that could be a concern. Like, how do I just get my teen out of their phone?
Mhm,
We have to come out of our phones too.
mhm,
Maybe have a basket and everybody has to put all of their devices
mhm,
inside of that basket and walk away and do something together. But again, you want to have something planned. It's not just let's put our phones away for no reason. It's let's put our phones away because we're all going to play charades.
mhm,
Or let's put our phones away because we're all going to dress up as characters from, I don't know, Moulin Rouge and go sing karaoke. Or let's put our phones away because we're going to go sing Christmas carols up and down the street in the neighborhood and get yelled at by people. Like, do that something where we're going to go make a memory.
mhm,
Like we have an event planned and we're going to do something together. And that's how we're going to connect and do things.
mhm. Well, that was awesome. I really appreciate you coming
Yeah.
on here. And if anyone has one last question, feel free to.
Yeah. Please feel free to ask. Like, I'm here. Or like for those who are watching this recorded, please feel free to reach out to me. My email is on there, or my Twitter handle. Happy to answer questions. Obviously, I can't give like clinical advice, but like talking through like that idea of how do we make memories and thinking this stuff through. I think maybe one little kind of final note I'll say is like with any of this stuff, just be intentional.
Mm-hmm.
Like the more intention we can bring, the more attention we can have, and just, wanting to fully connect with somebody, like the more memorable it's likely going to be. If it's just sort of a thing of we're just going to go here and do this thing,
Mm-hmm.
so that's kind of throwaway. Nobody's going to really remember that. But if it's like, hey, I don't know, we're going to go to this place and we're going to plant a tree together
Mm-hmm.
and, kind of plant this little bit of hope, or we're going to go clean up this park. We're going to go do something intentional and meaningful together, and just kind of remember that stuff.
I'm excited you gave those games. I think you did this, I don't know, a while ago, and a lot of the games I'd heard of. This time, I don't know that I've heard of hardly any of the games. So, I mean, you got me good. I'm going to go check them out because you always have really good games. So thank you.
Yeah, definitely try the cooperative games are so much fun. I've actually, I was working with a family and like the siblings were fighting terribly. Like that was the primary reason they came in. And like, I just had them come in and play Forbidden Island with me.
Okay.
And then the family bought it. And then like, they came back a week later and they're like, I think we're good. These kids, like, we just play Forbidden Island all the time now. And like, now that they've learned how to work together on this, like they don't fight. They understand that like they can help each other.
Yeah, we like to play games as a family, but we have some now that like it creates havoc because like exploding kittens, or like, I mean, we love playing it, but everyone gets in a fight. Like by the end of it, everyone's mad at everybody, and like
yeah, no, that one creates fights. That one creates arguments. Like if you want to if you want to get maybe a buy-in for your kids too, like a spooky game, this one that's what's it? The Night Cage up here. This is another cooperative game, but it's spooky.
Okay.
And the idea is you are 4 people who are in this ever-changing labyrinth.
Mm-hmm.
And the only thing you have is the light of one candle. And you have to crawl around the labyrinth, avoiding monsters to find the 4 keys and the gate to get out. And everybody needs a key and everybody needs to be on the gate to get out. And like your candles can burn out and burn down. And like, my game came with like 4 little itty bitty candles that you can use. Mm-hmm. Oh, and that one's also up to 5 players. Okay. So if you're like me and have a bigger family, that's really nice.
Right.
But you can have like just little candles and you can symbolize what's going on by just playing by candlelight. Cool. Which is super cool.
That's cool. Awesome. I'm going to check out all those games. Well, thank you again for coming on here and all that you do for our school and for the community. I really appreciate it.
Oh, that one, Diane, it's called the Night Cage. Here, I can hold it up for you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really spooky and it is super. Ooh, it's shining in my thing. Yeah, it's a cooperative game, but it is really fun and it's not too hard to learn. It's essentially like you're on one tile and then you draw a tile and you place it down in front of you. Mm-hmm. And then you crawl along and it slowly builds out the maze as you go. It's really good. I really like this one. And I think if you play it in the dark, it's definitely got that creepy vibe to it.
Awesome. Well, thanks. I appreciate it. Have a great night and a happy Thanksgiving, Christmas, holidays. Well, I think you're coming to Trinity sometime in
January, I think.
Yeah, awesome. Right? So
yes, I'm very excited.
Forward to having you. So thank you so much. Have a great night. And thanks everybody for coming on. Bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. All right. Bye.